let's talk a bit about the implications of 3D video. I hope the audio is passable on this. I haven't tested the microphone on this new 360 camera yet. By the way, this video is in 360 degrees. By using your mouse and tapping on the screen and dragging it, you can move around, or you can use the WASD keys on your keyboard to move the camera around. Now I'm going to pointlessly pace in circles, because there's no reason for this video to be in 360 degrees other than that it's about the subject. So, I think that there's certain implications both for creators and for audience members that 360 video brings to the table, and I want to address both. For creators, what's most interesting about 360 video is that it's completely honest. You cannot hide anything. Whereas in normal filmmaking, you have lighting effects and you have to stage everything around certain camera angles. You know, everything's about setting up the shot just perfectly to create this illusion of what you're seeing. With 360 video, you can't do that. You can't really light for 360 video, because if I put lights right here, you know, shining down on me, then they're going to be very visible if someone goes over there. In a lot of ways, 360 video is best for outdoors. It's best for if you're doing some kind of adventure photography, if you're like doing a, you know, going out and about and filming weird, crazy vistas. You know, it's definitely good for presenting a beautiful surroundings type thing. I think that's probably what it's best for, what it's meant for. But I also think it has interesting possibilities for podcasting, vlogging, and just dragging people into the experience of talking to you. Less so when it's someone by themselves like I am right now. But I think it'll really blow the gates open for group podcasting, for group vlogging, where you can have a bunch of people, you know, in one location, and it's just so much easier to let the audience into that conversation. So much of what's great about podcasting is that you feel like you're, you know, as a listener, you feel like you're getting to be a part of this conversation between these people. And how much more could be brought to the table if you got to see how those people move, how they express themselves, what faces they make. It would really make you feel like you're actually in the conversation. The only disconnect being that you can't actually talk to any of the people. So, you know, I think there's a lot that could be done with it. And I think that as creatives, we're going to have to find what is useful for this. I don't think this is ever going to be something that's used in mainstream film. I think it's mostly going to be used on YouTube, which is why it's great that YouTube has, you know, incorporated this feature so early into its life, into its existence, because like it's totally meant for video. It's totally meant for something that's honest and direct and involves the audience in a more meaningful way than presenting something to them, you know. Now, on the audience end, I actually think that 360 video is most similar to video games. I think it kind of bridges a gap between games and video, where, like, as a video gamer, you're always, like, you have control over where your character moves and what they do. And, like, so much of what makes games interesting is that they put you in a space and you are able to move around that space freely. So even though there is, like, you know, an extent to which the person who made the game, you know, like, let's say you're in a room. Well, they designed the room. Everything in the room is something that they wanted you to be able to see. But you get to have some agency in how you interact with that room. And 360 video also provides that, because you don't have to look at me. You don't have to follow me around with the camera. You know, you can look at anything else in my incredibly detailed room, you know. Unfortunately, the cat left before I started filming this, but I was going to point out how, you know, in a lot of my videos, my cat will be in my room, and she's right off camera when I'm vlogging, you know, and I'm like, I could totally see people just staring at the cat, watching what she's doing, you know. It just gives you other angles. And it also increases the rewatchability of videos, because you might focus on something different than what you focused on last time. Obviously, there's not a lot of different focal points in this video because it's mostly just me by myself in a static room. But, you know, when I've watched 3D videos, I watched this one short film, I don't remember what it was called, but it was about this father and daughter like growing up in this car. Like the 360 vantage point was on the hood of the car, and it was edited like a film where it was going through all these like different time periods, and it would like every 5 seconds or so switch to another time period, but all from the same vantage point. You're just seeing all these snapshots of the lives of these characters. And if you watch the video more than once, especially with VR headset on, which is how I watched it, just with a little Google Cardboard one, which, by the way, if you want to watch these videos in 3D, Google Cardboard is $25. They just mail you a piece of cardboard that you fold up into a 3D device. You slide your phone in there, and you got it. So you could be watching me like this right now if you wanted to, which would be staring at the ceiling, I guess. But I watched that video, and it was really interesting to see how there were so many different things going on. And so there's sort of this feeling when you're watching 360 video that you don't get the whole picture by watching it once. You feel like there's more to it. It's kind of like how in real life you don't perceive everything that's happening. It's more like you're in there. I think that's where the immersion comes from. The immersion's not just from the fact that you're in the space, it's from the fact that you can't see all of it at once. Just like in reality, where your perception is limited to what's in front of you, I can't see what's behind me right now, you know? And I think that's where the immersion comes in. That's what makes it feel more real, because you're not being presented a choreographed, you know, edited to be just right film, you know, where if you were looking at a real movie, then it might look like the person's face is on screen and they're in the park, but there's actually 17 floodlights right behind the camera, and, you know, a guy with a big-ass camera standing there behind them, you know. So, yeah, that's what makes it so immersive. And I think that we're going to start finding ways that we can integrate video game like mechanics into 360 video, where there might be ways that the audience can interact with a video. You know, obviously the video can't react to the audience necessarily, but what if there were ways that we could make like a choose your own adventure video or something, where like depending on what direction you're looking in, something different will be happening. Managing the audio around that would be difficult, but I mean, there's a lot of experimentation that can and should be done with this thing. And I think, you know, well, I would say we're only a matter of time before there's artistic things made in this medium, but I already think that short film was plenty artistic and definitely proved the worth of the medium of 360 video. So, you know, and it felt like a video game, not only because it was 3D CG animated, but like just the way it was presented felt. It reminded me of like playing The Last of Us or something, in part because of the way the story was, but just like that feeling of seeing this intimate story, but also being able to look around and take in everything else that's surrounding the story. Anyway, yeah, I'm probably mostly going to use this for vlogging, especially for multi-person vlogging, where I don't have to, you know, it's hard to actually like sandwich a bunch of people into a frame, like you know, Red Letter Media does like a multi-camera setup with their multiple people, and that's a great way to do it, but it takes a lot of editing. And, you know, sandwiching a bunch of people into one shot and trying to make it coherent is hard. Having a 360 video of a bunch of people would be interesting, because even if the video quality isn't necessarily as high because there's not as great of lighting and, you know, the making the audio work will be difficult, I think the fact that it's interactive adds such a new dimension to what you're doing that it will still be interesting for the audience. At least that's what I hope. And I hope this video sounds okay and was somewhat entertaining. See you in the next one.